Hello. Oh, I hear myself playing back on other channels. Hold on one second here. Let's pause that, shall we? Oh, you got to go down. And YouTube is live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new live stream. My name is John Skippy Limku. So glad you are here. Welcome. Let's get this up so we see the whole logo and everything. There we go. That's better. Yes. Oh, we can get these to be into the picture too, because we're going to be playing with these at some point today. So I hope everybody is well. It's a lovely day, very spring-like here in Portland. Hey, hello, Bernie. Harold. Ah, everybody's here. Awesome. The family is showing up. It's like a picnic time or something like that. Okay, so let's see here. I just got gel in my hair to get it to hopefully obey and stay where it's supposed to stay, because it was not being all that cooperative earlier, but you know, we'll make it work. All right, so let me see. It feels good. I feel good. We have kind of a fun agenda for today. I have a secret I'll show you guys later. The version of Vega Magic Viola that I showed last week was a work in progress, and I now have some final samples. And I will actually do a live stream about the sample that thought it could. And we'll start from the original, and I'll show you the multiple processes required to turn that sample into a final sample in the library. Many applications were involved in that process, believe it or not. It was really crazy. Yes, so there's two things we're going to cover as the main agenda. Number one, I have a whole bunch of customer questions that I've compiled. I got some new ones since last night to today. You guys will probably have questions on the live stream, so we're going to do customer questions. Number two, I'm going to show OMG drums, because volume 2 is coming end of this month. Just in time for Easter. You need kick butt dance and trance grooves for Easter. I know it. And I've had a number of people over the past the year since this came out want me to get a little deeper into how do you use these? What's the layout? What other things can we do with these that we might not have thought of? So to start with, OMG is a library. I actually have the artwork right here. Let's do this legit. Let's go like that, that. OMG is a library on my website. It's on sale this weekend. Volume 1 is on sale this weekend. So if you don't have this, you can save some pretty decent money on it right now. This is a library kind of unique in that we did originally, there was OMG for Break Tweaker, which had grooves using samples that we created. And it was such a large library, I didn't want to just make it one library for the layout that I wanted, but I took those drum samples and put them in Omnisphere. So all these things that say kit are drum kits. So they go all through chill, drum and bass, the power up kit. So you have all of these kits. Right? They go all over the place. Dubstep. This library, volume 1, had the dubstep, the film. So they're all over the place. The glitch, hop, hip hop. I licensed drum samples from Dope VST. They have a library, a plugin that does really, really great hip hop samples. And I talked to them, paid a cash fee, and had myself, well, that's a NATO's, but Funky Cold. All of these drum kits are available. And the cool thing is that as you can see, there's 6 patches. We're looking at multis. And so here's my kick, my snare, hat. So first of all, you could sequence something, you know, let's play around. This is all about ideas, inspiring, inspiration. I'm not even looking at my chat conversation. So I'm a Facebook hater. Oh, good. That's, you know, it's not my favorite thing sometimes because of the political way people go, but it's a great way to talk to a lot of people. So I'm not a hater. So I need to listen to my click. Okay. So we have a groove. I just want to show you some ideas with, let's say, this should be, I didn't play anything too crazy, so, okay. Because it is separate patches, it's possible to go into part 2, the snare drum, tune it up. Let's go to the envelopes and let's make it. And this is something you can do while it's playing. So it's not like one of those things where it's a whole confusing, like you just go to the number 1 is the kick drum. Put the envelope. And I've made a completely different type of kit with this. So go to the hi-hats. Let's add a delay. So you could do delay tricks. I mean, whatever you want to each element, it's possible to do that. Also on top of this, if we just go to another one of the kits, oh wait, if I was to go to a different kit and load it up, I got to be on the kits, and I'm not clicking kit, but if I hit kick, I have all these kits to just cycle through. Right? All sorts of different vibes are going to be found within these kits. So if you don't have enough of a drum library at your disposal, this is just a great way to get a whole bunch of drum kits for Omnisphere because it is a sample playback engine. And so you can play samples through it of drum samples. And so we did that. Okay, guys, keep on topic when you're discussing things, please. It's good to talk outside of topic a little bit, but let's keep it kind of narrowed if you can. Otherwise, I look over here and I'm trying to follow a discussion about Skype meetings, and I'd prefer not to do that if it's possible. So that's the start of this, is that we have the kits. And then what's fun with this is that you can easily take, I have right here, Super Macho's MIDI files that were a free download a year ago, February, that I did. I need to do a new set of grooves for Super Macho drums, but I've provided and released free drum loops on a fairly regular basis for Super Macho drums, and I'll continue to do so because it needs new drum sounds. It just makes good sense. So let's go like this. I'm going to show you how easy it is to use a MIDI file with these, even though the notes don't correlate. So we're going to look at, like, let's take, let's use hip hop, We the People. So we just drag this into Logic, and we don't want to import tempo. So we say no. So it just stays at the tempo. We're just going to keep where we are because that doesn't even matter. We're not doing frame rate stuff. If I hit play, it doesn't work because the notes of this groove are not matching up at all. As you can see here, this should be the snare, right? So if I zoom in enough so I can see it, let's zoom in. There's the snare is on D. Here's the kick. All right, so this needs to be the hi-hat because it's, let's find a different kit. That kit doesn't have a hi-hat. So go like that. Oh, I keep clicking the wrong thing. Kit, please. There. And let's see if this note can be added to something, depending on the kit that you're using. And as I change through the kits, now that I have this MIDI file working, so the key to understanding MIDI files is to look for the 2 and the 4, the one that happens right here. That will almost always be a snare drum. Something that's consistent like this is typically a hi-hat or a shake, you know, it's a hi-hat type pattern because it's just going to be this thing. And then something that looks like it's the downbeats, maybe some upbeats, depending on the groove, that would be your kick drum. So between that, just again, the kick, snare, and hat, you can get. So if we took this groove and we said, go away, and let's do another groove from a whole different style. Let's go to pop. Here's pop work. So let's drag this over here. No. So as we can see from this, there's a crash, right? Wait, zoom this in so we can see. I need a bigger monitor sometimes, don't I? Well, here's the hi-hat for sure. Let's see what we get when we do this. So this is kind of a complex, there's a lot of stuff going on. That's the basics of the groove. I'd probably put another one here on 2. And then move that. So it's easy to adapt by just shifting the notes around of the sequencer. So you need some sort of a piano player scroll view in your sequencer. Here, this is the verse to closer. So we'll put this here. Don't show this message again. No. All right, so here's a nice complex mess, right? But it's pretty easy to see from this. Let's see, is there anything else in here? There's a kick drum. That looks to be the snare. Hi-hat. Okay, that's cool. Let's go to another kit just to see where we're at. So you get the idea. I'm just... Okay, so using MIDI files, there's free MIDI files all over the place on the internet. Very easy to find. And then just by shifting the notes to the notes that correlate to the C, D, E, F, G, and A, you can use these as your drums all day long, okay? Then there's the loop, which is the version of this, which... Every one of these is taking these 6 parts and turning on the arpeggiator for each part. So here's the kick, the snare, okay? And then when you go to the grooves of these, which is where we're gonna start playing, this is where it kind of like all the rules kind of get broken, because at this point, you need to look over here, because usually it's a drum machine set up to play low C. So each one of these grooves have all sorts of elements to them that are different for each one. You have a drum machine on low C, and then above that, mod wheel. Each one of these grooves is a whole different crazy... So how would you use these? There's the obvious way of just setting up your sequencer, hitting record, and playing in maybe the keyboard part first. And let's move that to here. Right? Now you could do the drums here. I almost suggest using a separate instance of Omnisphere. The reason I suggest that is because the drums take up a certain amount of power. The bass and the keyboard part take up a certain amount of power. If you're using 2 of this Omnisphere at the same time to do 2 separate parts, then it takes 2 separate processors. It's working kind of in tandem. Oh, you know, I got this video playing over here on YouTube. Yes, all the sounds you're hearing are part of the OMG Volume 1 library. You have the kit version, right? Where there's the 6 drum samples. You have the loop version. And then you have the groove version, which in this particular case, you have a split, you have a fuzzy pretty bell, and then so the idea is it's this immediate sit down, start writing song, production setup for Omnisphere. It is really a fun place to hang out. So we've sequenced that part. Now, what's fun with this is by calling, let's do this. Let's say copy, and then go over here and call up another copy of Omnisphere. And saying paste. So we've pasted the same library. Hello. I'd like to move this, please. There. For some reason, it was frozen. So now I can go over here to the multi, and this way I could do things to the drums that won't change and affect this keyboard sound. Part of the reason is, as it's set right now, you have the bass. Here's just on one track, right? So I have the bass and the drums and the keyboard sound. When I move the mod wheel, it changes everything, including the drums. Which is great, but it also changes. It hypers them, changes them. That's what's part of the power of Atmosphere, is that you're looking at 7 different patches, and this modulation wheel is changing parameters in all 7 patches. But if we split this out so that the keyboard part and the drum part are separate, I can now go in here and see if this works. Okay. Metronome options. I want to have recording count in 1 measure. Thank you. So you could do it this way. And it'll play it back, and it'll start and stop right when we did here. That's one way, right? But there's other ways to use these multis that get really fun. If you want, you could do such things as go through here, turn latch mode off by right-clicking. What the latch mode does is the latch mode, when I play a note, it triggers this to start playing, but when I take my hand off, it keeps playing, right? Because it's latched on, and then you have to click again to turn it off. By turning latch mode off, I could actually go through here. Let's go to the trigger and make it immediate. I had a customer ask about, do you notice there's delay in some multis? And it's probably because of the trigger mode. So if you turn the trigger mode off, it's no longer waiting to play. The reason I set it up that way is that these all trigger simultaneously. So by turning off trigger mode, by turning off latch mode, right? Now I can take it a step further. Watch this. If we want, my keyboard stops there, so I'm going to transpose the whole keyboard down 1 octave. So my octave up now plays. But if you want, I could let's map this to here. Have this go down 1 and then map up. Go down 2. I think there. And then right here. And what I'm doing is I have now split the grooves. Yes, so I have the clap on C, B, move this up 1. So let me get my keyboard up, because as a MIDI environment, this was a buggy thing, but they've released an update to Logic, so maybe they fixed this. Click some ports. Nope, they didn't fix it yet. It's still not showing the keyboard. Okay. Well, you can see it here. So there's B, C, B flat, and A. So now I have control over, let's see, let's go over here. I can play these when I want the parts to start. So I could have got to quantize it. You can even play the notes to sequence parts. So now my sequenced data looks quite different because I can play the notes to play them. I can play just one part. Here's just a hi-hat and the kick by playing these two notes. You can split it up into being separate parts for different parts of the arrangement. And if you want, you can take it a step further in that, like, maybe the snare turn off the ARP. And maybe this snare turn off the ARP. In fact, you could turn off the ARP for all of them if you wanted to. And then you just have turned it into a drum machine. So you can now sequence it to your heart's content exactly how you want it to be. And I could, let's make it a little easier to play. Let's put this down to G. Let's play G until we hear it. Let's move this to A, B, and C. So now, instead of sequencing it that way, we can just delete this and I could play whatever I wanted to, you know? And off you go. So there's all sorts of ways to break these multis out to be doing more than just, and because it's two parts, I could now go to this second part that's playing the keyboard part and the bell part and say, the bell part, which is patch number 5, maybe I want that to be something else. So at this point, because I'm on patch and not multi, I could go through any of the libraries. We have all the libraries loaded. I could go to Omnichill, maybe just do a keyboard sound. And let's quantize this, and let's maybe give it a little bit of a... Right? So the ability to have it separated, and the fact that afterward, let's go to the bass sound. This is part 6. See how it lights up the dot for 6, so you know that that's the bass. So if you hit patch, you can now go through here, go to any library. We're in Northern Impact right now. And it's 2 octave too low. So I would need, the easiest way to fix an octave thing is right here on main. You can just transpose the whole patch up an octave. So it's flexible in cool ways. Okay. So are there any questions you guys have on this concept? I just want to show how flexible these are in the fact that, in fact, if we go over here to the Omnisphere that's being the drums, it's really easy if that sample maybe isn't working for you. Couple options. Number one, you could go to the OMG. Did I put it in here? Oh, there it is. We have every kick and every snare and every percussion sound in the whole library as a separate patch. So here, let's set it to cycle. Maybe instead of this clap sound, maybe I don't even like that hi-hat part. So that's part 3. So keep going back here to the... It's all flexible. It's very easy to use. Okay? So it's in a flexible, this is play. It's clay. You can play with it. So challenge is to simplify everything. So that's kind of how I would approach these. I would suggest drums in one Omnisphere, the keyboard sounds from these grooves in another Omnisphere so that they're flexible. This way, while this groove is playing, we set this up so that everything still remembered its modulation settings. So if I'm playing this and so the mod wheel makes the kick drum go away while it goes up in pitch. This snare goes up in pitch. Like, let's add this into the. Okay. Quantize all together. Now that snare doesn't work, so we could go over here. We could either just affect it maybe like that and dry. So let's go see. Oh, it's in the sample. So that means you would go to the envelope and you look at the release as well as the shape, because when you hold your finger down, it will follow the envelope of the amp for this. But if the release is really long when you let your finger off the note, if you play it really short, it will still ring out. So you want to make sure that you do both the shape here as well as the amount of time you give it for release. And if we wanted to trick this out, we could say modulate this with mod envelope 4. This is a very simple way to add a nice turn off loop and sync. So you can add a little pitchy G. Cool. Gives a little bit more presence, but smaller presence. But it's more interesting to your ears because of the things happening in frequency. Thank you. Yeah, no, someone is saying great kick sounds. I listen through decent fat woofer speakers and it's kicking butt. Yeah, these kick drums, the team that worked on this did a really good job with the samples. And I will tell you, we're working on another library for Break Tweaker. So, shh, won't be out till later this year, but the balls are rolling in that direction. So, any questions? I just want to show how fun and easy these are to use. In fact, let's do one more, just to keep the idea going. And this time, I'm going to use from Del Norte. These are free MIDI files that come with Del Norte. And let's just drag one of these. We have drum grooves, as well as chords, as well as basses. And we're going to try to make these work inside of an Omnisphere Multi that came from a whole different direction. So fingers crossed. Are you ready? Here we go. This is a fun experiment. So we're on track 1 of the 2 Omnispheres that we have to work with. Let's start with, let's say, a dubstep, maybe kind of groove. Let's see what we get to play with. Yeah, that sounds like EDM, doesn't it? Oh, I love this one. I gotta show you this one. so fun to play with. Anyway, so that won't work for the EDM idea that I have in mind. Oh, there's another great one for the that rolling dubstep. So let's try. Let's see what we can do with this. We're gonna probably have to change out the bass sound because this is not an EDM kind of thing. So let's go to the, well, let's do this. So let's first of all go to the chords and let's just drag over one and see what we get. This could be kind of a silly experiment, but it's, why not, you know? So I can tell because my CPU just freaked out. It's gonna have to be shorter. So let's do this. Let's go to part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is the keyboard part up here, right? Let's just go to link. So we're doing both oscillators. And let's shorten the release. And we have a lot of delay. Let's turn off the delay to start with because this part. Okay. So let's do this. We're gonna mute the bass for the moment so we don't hear it. So we just hear the keyboard part. Now, I've edited it some. Let me show you what I did. This is part 7. And this is pure Veloplex. That should be down here in synth. Right? That's basically what I was doing. We could call it the original because I saved it out as a patch and I think I worked it more. But in order to use this in this application, I know first of all, unison off because that's just eating up a huge number of notes. It's playing 8 notes of unison. And you sort of notice it. I'd notice it more if it was more detuned. But I don't need all those notes of polyphony, right? I don't need it to be sustaining so long since it's playing a shorter part. So let's shorten these guys. Turn off the delays. And now I can see what I'm working with. And do I want spectrum? Let's turn off link so maybe we can. Let's make it a little bit chippier. And what's fun at this point, I could go through waveforms because this is based on waveform right now for the synth sound. I could. And don't forget to move the shape. Okay, so. Okay, so at this point, let's look at the bass sound. And I'm gonna go over here. So this is one that came with the library. shorten the release. Go to the effects. That's what's going on here. We don't need the delay. That might be fine without the reverb. Let's hear it with the two. Not bad. Yeah, I can't do anything about the codec on the video, guys. It is what it is. Take it or leave it. I don't know if my streaming capabilities from this house would be able to support higher res without upgrading my streaming services and stuff. Now, I might do this to the bass. Let's solo this, and you can quickly get to solo right here. On this page right here, I don't know if you know this, but you have solo, mute, and the part level, just like you do in the multi-mixer page, but on the patch level. So I'm gonna solo this. So I have a waveform doing that, and I have a sample doing this. The wave shaper's doing that. I have unison with it set to an octave down. I want it to be snappier. So my number one go-to, there's two ways to approach snappiness. I think the easiest way for this, because I just want a transient snap, is to do the pitchy G trick. So we'll go pitchy G, mod envelope 4. Now it's all over the place and weird. Happy accidents. Okay. And B is also wave shaped and unison. Let's do that and make it more of a sine wave. Now that's more of like what you would expect for an EDM kind of bass. It's more pure. That's nice. I like that. Now, I'm going to go to the second Omnisphere and use this for rhythm. And instead of using the groove mode that I used to start the keyboard and the bass part, I'm going to just use a kit. So let's go to the kits. I'd say maybe one of the dubstep kits would be kind of fun. So we got to just make sure we're in the directory for OMG Volume 1. Hype Man kit. Oh, and I got to transpose this back up an octave. And then just for fun, let's see what happens. Let's go over here to the Del Norte drums. It has chord 5. So I'm going to use drums 5 because I coordinated them to match. So drum groove 5. And say start at measure 1. And it's not going to play right to start with, right? So we need to change the notes around. It's pretty straightforward. That looks like the downbeat. Here is the snare. And I have an upbeat snare. I had two different sounds for the... Not bad. This particular kick rings out. And it has a pitch to it. So at this point, I have to decide two things. I could try to tune it down. About there. And that's a seriously huge amount of low end. So here's a cool trick. Let's see here. Let's go to EQ, to the Studio EQ. It has a high pass filter. And let's see. This is the bug that happens sometimes where it shows blue like it's being modulated, but it's not being modulated by anything. So you select to have it be modulated by something and then unmodulate it. So that way it goes away. So before, after. So even if I have this all the way down, it does a really nice, just gentle limiting of that huge amount of low wind. That's better. Okay. I have this that I could use as a fun, let's do this. Let's do it this way. I'm going to say command, if I do control shift and return, it's a duplicate of that track. Let's go to this sound and trick it out. I'm not going to be able to use these, although I could. Maybe we'll find a way. There's a question. If you were outside of the OS, we could use a gatekeeper. Gatekeeper for which effect, Steel? I'm going to keep working on this while you explain to me what exactly when did I show something that... Now, this is a fun trick. For some percussion sounds, you want to have it do cool attacks. And then we can add another segment after this. So if you ever want to get kind of like that, you can get to where you almost don't even notice it. But I want it to be kind of like a tambourine. So instead of being this, where it's just a strong hit, I can break it into 3 or 4 pulses. Now, because we're dealing with a synthesizer, there's all sorts of crazy places. We could assign this to an LFO. We could sync this puppy up and make it be like a quarter note or 1 measure. Control the range to not be so wide. So something like that'd be cool. Just record it in. Okay. And I'd want to quantize that so it stays tight. Now I might want to filter it a little bit, and just I don't want it to stand out quite so much. So there's all sorts of places to filter. Let's just go here to EQ, to like the 3 band. And I'm going to bring down the band so it's like about 4K. And then just bring it down a little bit. So it takes all the high end. Smoother. So it's fun to have all these capabilities inside of your drum machine. A lot of drum machines don't have the ability to get quite this elaborate with LFOs and all this kind of stuff. Let's take this and use it. Tune it. That's cool. So we need to speed this up because we're kind of doing the slow trance thing. Let's go like that. So it can be used like a squelch. And then we could take this. That doesn't need it. So we've totally changed it from being a dubstep groove into using a trap kit and a dubstep kind of a thing to start with, and messing it up. So the possibilities are, it's very fun to work with it this way, because it's an, what do you want to do? I mean, here, so we can go to, it's using a snare. And we could go to the kick drum and be maybe more appropriate for a dance type of a style. So let's go to kicks. There we go. Cool. So lovely. Yeah, there's all sorts of possibilities. And it's fun to have it all in one plugin. It's really kind of a cool concept to be able to do this. And so happy to share it with you guys. I hope that if you guys have questions on this, pop them up. And we can, here's our water. We can slap them down. Now, if you wanted to, someone's talking about using Gatekeeper. You could add Gatekeeper, or if you go to Nicky Romero, here's Kickstart. I need to go to the right track. So yes, you could use this. Quantize that, turn this off. I missed my kick on the downbeat, so let's go over here and add one there. Now, or else if you wanted to get more complex, there was somebody talking on a chat that I saw about Kickstart being, it's a great tool. There's nothing wrong with Kickstart, but the shape of it is just basically an LFO shape. Gatekeeper will take you to another place altogether, because it's much more than just an LFO shape. Here's your kind of shape. And the timing is just tighter. It's like if I wanted to draw in and I wanted my timing value to be 64th notes, and then I wanted to change I would change my curvature. Just draw to your heart's content. Discard. So there's all sorts of tools. It's just insane how tight Gatekeeper is for the timing. I mean, listen to that. It's just beautiful. It's great. Okay, so there's all sorts of things to add as effects on top to Omnisphere to break up and give you more rhythmic variety, put it into a more modern kind of a flavor to work with. So yes, those things are available options to add to everything else that's going on here. So hope that helps. All right, we're going to shift over to customer queues. I have quite a few. We'll see what we can. The first one is an administration website one that I wanted to just publicly say, just so people are clear. I get stuff like this quite often. You know, I went to click the link in the email that you receive when you buy a library from me, and it doesn't work. The link is expired. And that's because the link that's attached to an email is a generated short lasting link. Otherwise, you could forward it to all your friends and everybody could download the library. But when you go to the Plugin Guru website and log in, it will be right there waiting for you on the login page after you've logged in. All the libraries you've currently purchased the license to use are listed and show up. So if you do get the expired link, that's what that means. Okay? All right. So let's start with questions. Let's see here. Let's do it this way. I'll make another one of these so you guys can read these along with me all together now. Make it bigger. I know that somewhere in your videos you've talked about it, but I would really like to know about adding samples to Omnisphere. I have tried it with varying results. Specifically, what is the optimum length in seconds? Also, if there are advantages to higher sampling rates and bit depths. Looking forward to your broadcast. Love the new library, Northern Impact. As usual, the more I examine it, the more I learn. I don't think I would have ever learned how Omnisphere works with all the pages, modulations without buying your libraries. That's very nice. Thank you. So sampling and getting samples into Omnisphere is just, that's one of the fun things with this instrument, is that it has the ability to load in your own samples at will anytime you want. So if we go over here and let's initialize this multi. So we're initialized. And I have something special to load in. You're going to like this. I was talking about the final versions of Mega Magic Viola. We are just in the process of, they're just now coming into reality. Like here's for the live stream. Oh, let me, I'll show them as the full maps in a little bit. But here, let's take one of the harmonics. I think I'm going to use this sample. Yes. I don't know if can you hear that? Well, it doesn't matter. So I have this sample that I want to use. Sampling bit depth, resolution, length of time. It can be short, as you can see that I have, we could go anywhere from like Del Norte. These samples are 1.8 megabytes in size. These attacks are super short. So length of sample doesn't matter. That's pretty much irrelevant. Things that are important, you want to have 24-bit for the bit depth, so that as you play up and down the keyboard, there's more resolution to the sample to work with. And typically I mean, you can do higher, like 96 or 192 kilohertz audio sampling if you want, but it's almost overkill. Everything's going to be put down in music formats down to a MP3 stream eventually. And certain instruments, in certain cases, it's nice to have higher bit resolution, and Omnisphere will play them as far as I understand and as far as I've seen. But 48 kilohertz is typically what I use, 24-bit wave files. And all you do is, this is a sample. It's a dot wave. As you can see, let me show you this way. When we do our mappings for everything has the sample pitch assigned at the end of it. So if I wanted to, let's say we take all of the Mega Magic harmonics from C3 to here, and I just drag them up to the user audio. You go to the sound sources. I'll show you how to get there, and you just get the user box and you drag your audio over there. And it'll take it a minute, and it will pop up a message when it's completed. It's taking longer for me because I have all of these sample libraries currently loaded. So it won't take that long. Viola library will be coming out in April. That is the target time for that. And after I'm doing OMG first, darn it. I've had that for a year to work on, and Airwave and I are working on it, and it's coming out really cool. So it takes it a second to go through, catalog, make the spaces it needs for the samples, and then I should have probably not had all these sample libraries, but here we go. It's figured out what it needs to do. So how are you guys today? What's the weather like where you're at? So Ivar's asking, can I add into Omnisphere sounds I have got with my device Zoom, Qt video and audio device? I can record WAV and MP3, a USB. Yeah. You totally can. Oh, it's raining in California. Bummer. Yes, all you have to do is just drag over the WAV. That was nice. Crash and burn. Baby. So if we go over here, change to sample, let's see if it captured those for 310. Yep, here they are. So because I don't have them in a specific folder, if I would have used the folder name, then it would show up like a library like this with the name. But as I just dragged over the samples, you will get folders with the date. And here they are. So here's some. And because the C3 or the D sharp 2 or the G2 is the name at the end of the sample, they work so that if I go over here and layer, turn on B and make it synth, it works. Okay? So it can be any length. These are not looped yet. So like this is one of the harmonic viola samples. It goes and then it fades out. Let's take it down 2 octaves. It's really cool stuff. We have not a lot of polyphony assigned, so we can go 8 voices. I usually set to like 32 voices of polyphony. And this is one sample. Now, if I wanted to, we're not going to get that. Well, I could do it because, so Omnisphere is buffering, whether you know it or not, 8 separate patches, whether you're using them or not. The other 7 patches are just blank. But I could go over here and I could say, turn this to sample. And let's go back to that folder and let's get a different sample. Let's get like, this will be the C4 sample. And then I'm going to check here to see that this would be the C3 sample. There. So I have a C3 sample. And I'm actually going to go to this envelope real quick. And I'm going to say, copy this envelope. And then go to part 2 and paste this envelope. If I go to multi-mode, I can turn on stack, and I can limit this to be this part of the keyboard range. Let's say, and I'll have to test this, but so there's one sample, and then here's the other sample, and it's not been transposed down yet. So let's transpose this down. Okay, so I'm now using 2 samples. Okay, and if I had 3 samples, I could just window this like this, and I could go like this. It's gonna be more like that for the range. And I want to go to part 2 and have this be 32 voices of polyphony. And then go to part 3, go to sample. And let's go here. We had C3, C4. So this would be C4, and I'll have this second one changed to, instead of being C4, which is the top sample, to be like G3. So we have C3, G3, C4. So this is 3 samples, and I need to go to part 3, paste the envelope, and I need to make sure it's down 24 semitones, and on this page, given 32 voices of polyphony. Those are my edits. So now I have 3 samples being used. And if I was to go in and just save this, I could save this multi, give it whatever name I wanted into the user save folder, and it would save it. I don't have to go through the process of naming the patches, organizing, tagging, cataloging, anything. But that is basically how you would import in samples. And here, check this out. Let's go here. And EXS24. Here's some of the other final samples for viola, just to give you a little taste of what is coming. This is, I'm going to bring up the release. These are not looped yet. Awesome. There's dry as well as the Mega Magic. In fact, if you want to hear dry samples, let's see, here we go. Contact 5. Here's Mega Magic. Here's the viola with vibrato dry. By the way, check this out. Here's the master list. There's vibrato, no vibrato, crescendo. The down up is a nice, beautiful down up stroke. Pizzicato soft, hard. Spiccato upstroke, spiccato downstroke, marcato, motion slow, fast, harmonic, and whisper. So it's more source than the viola or the cello library, and it will still be $49 because that's how we roll. Here is the vibrato. That's number 1. Came out awesome. Here's like marcato. There's no enveloping, just the samples. If you get to the motion stuff, this is where it gets really cool. Here's the motion slow. Now, if I take the motion slow and I put that into the Mega Magic Reverb, motion slow, let's give ourselves a slow envelope and a little bit more release. And that's just samples. There's no processing. And I also did this. Check this out. This is ambient. I recorded with ambient. I used room simulation software to there's this nice ambience surrounding the samples. So viola is going to be epic. Really, really excited about where that's going. Lots of work still to go, but dang, it is playing very lovely. Happy to share it with you. I like showing, you know, a lot of websites and companies don't do this kind of stuff. They want to keep it secret. I like keeping you guys involved in the process of turning it into what it's going to be, you know? I mean, it's fun to have you guys along for the development. This is my life, you know? So there you go. Mozart would be loving this. I hope so. All right, next question. So that hopefully answered the sampling question. Now this is an interesting one. This is one that is really, without more information, it's really hard to answer this, but let's talk about it for a minute. I would love to hear how you would approach playing a keyboard live in a band while managing multiple sounds. Thanks. Love your videos and sounds. Thank you. I appreciate that. As far as live, are you using hardware? Is this strictly out of your computer, out of the box kind of a scenario? Because there's a mode inside of Omnisphere which works great for live use called Live. And by using that, let's see, we're initialized by samples. Let's say that we had for a song, please don't crash. By the way, it hardly ever crashes. It's very rare and weird that it did, but let's say Del Norte. We're doing this for the first sound, right? Let's see, am I on the right? No, I need to be here. Let's say a keyboard part. So we wanted to have okay. And part 2, we want to have from OMG, we had a pulsing thing that we use in our track. So now, right now, if I go to load up something on part 2, it's still playing part 1. But if I go to multi-mode and I go to live and I turn on live mode and I select this, I'm now looking at part 2, so I can maybe I want that softer. And let's go back to live mode and let's hit part 3. And we want to go to part 3 and we want it to be a bass. Yeah, not from that kind of. Let's use cello, okay? Cello bass. Okay, so I have, let's do part 4. Let's do 4 parts. So part 4 could be, let's say we want some of the groove stuff from, how about percussa? Let's go to part 4. A lot of people tell me percussa is their favorite library. So let's go over here to the, why isn't it playing part? Oh, you know what? There you go. All right, so I have these parts. And what's really fun is if you want, you can turn on the latch mode and hit latch. So that's playing. Hit latch. And it lets you do some really cool things. Because with live mode, as long as you hold down a note, it plays the sound you were playing, or if the sustain pedal stays down. So it's playing all 4 sounds simultaneously because my sustain pedal's held down. And when I let up on the sustain pedal, they all stop. So you could use this to set up a live setup with up to 8 sounds for your song just in Omnisphere. When I've done live shows, a lot of times I would go over to Logic or whatever sequencer we're using, and you would set up different tracks. Like this track is this. This is this. Track 3, I need to have this be maybe massive or something like that, right? So you would set up the sounds that you needed for your song, and you could have an endless stream for the sequence that you go from one song to the next. Go to the browser. Do I have... I thought I had the Power Pack loaded in here. I guess I don't have my Power Pack. I got to get that loaded in here. The joys of a new computer. The Machine Factory, massive sounds. Anyway, you would have access to you setting up different tracks to be different parts, and you would just go from one and you could use an arrow up and down or a foot switch or all sorts of things to toggle. But it really depends on, and if you're using just like a workstation like a Korg Triton or Kronos or whatever, you could save a combination for each section in a song or a complete song, depending on how much of a sound change you're going from track to track. But there's all sorts of options for how to do live. It's definitely it's really tailored per scenario. So it's really hard to answer that with just a single answer. Someone was asking this, and since they're watching the live stream for the first time, because usually they can't, they're in England, we have to take a look at this. So I can tell you, hiya, hope you're well. Question, Roland SoundCloud takes up 29 gigabytes of audio on the hard drive. However, I have a very small SSD on my computer for the system drive. Can you tell me how much of the system components take up? Let me take a look. If I go over to the library, that will take a minute. I should have calculated this ahead of time, but if I was to go to, I don't think that there's much in library application support. Let's find out. Application support. So on the system, let me do it this way. Shrink this so you can see here. As far as the application support folder, there's just 8 kilobytes for the folders, but there's nothing in it. And then there's the Roland Cloud, which takes me over to the 29 gigabyte file on my sample libraries folder. So if I go over here to the Roland, this is, as you can see, 28.9 gigabytes. So that's by far the largest amount. Now, if we were to look into the components, the actual plugins themselves are pretty small. I don't think that some applications will have, let's go, plugins, components. You'll have to look for each one, but like the 1080 is 135 megabytes. But Jupiter 8's 28 megabytes. The D50 is 38 megabytes. So it's not gigabytes for the actual, there's the SH stuff, right? So let's look down here, the SH, SH2 and SH101 are each 28 megabytes. So it's very small. The big 28 gigabytes is mainly for the samples that you would find if you go to the cloud. They have Concerto, I guess you could say. This is where the samples are for all of these libraries. You know, if you go to the 1990, this is going to be, those are all, everything in here is sample based. So Concerto is the big guy as far as accessing samples. So, these are all options when you have the Roland Cloud, which is right here. If I go to the instruments, you can choose whether you want to install these or not. You don't have to. It will tell you the size of them. You can uninstall it easily if you don't want to, install it when you need it. So you don't have to have everything online all the time. You could say you just want these guys, which are the main things that I think you'd be into. Oh, hey, TR-808 just showed up. Let's check that out. Confirm. Is there something else I've missed? This is kind of the cool thing with that. So we'll have it installed while we're going through our questions. So hopefully that answers the question for you, Adrian. All right. Come over here. Continue, install. Oh, we like new toys. All right, I'm going to save and quit, and I'll be right back. It would be funny if it didn't approve, huh? But it did. So if we go over here to the Roland Cloud, TR-808. Cool. There we go. And that's what the Roland TR-808 sounds like when you turn it on. So this was just added. I didn't even know they added this to the cloud, but. And you can go to the clap. Everything is. Oh, you continue to be maracas. Bass drum. I still don't like their knobs. There you go. So, TR-808 is now in the... Wow. In the cloud. So, they just added that in the last week. Cool. So, as you can see, you can install or not install. If you don't want things from the subscription service, you don't have to install them, but they're there if you want them. Here is a question from Fred. You can refresh my memory. You showed a trick in Honesty on how to increase or double the attack of an amp envelope. In exploring your sounds and trying to understand some of your programming, went to a stock patch, Chill Plucker, and could reproduce it from scratch, except the amplitude was twice as loud on the attack in the original patch compared to what I could produce. I've been on every page and parameter and remained stumped. But I do remember you mentioned how to double the attack amplitude with the trick you showed, but I can't find it. All right, well, let's do this. Let's call it Chill Plucker. This is where searching is nice. So we're on... Huh? Oh, this is in the EDM library. This isn't... Oh, okay. Let's see here. So So I'm playing on part 2 right now because am I in live mode? Yeah. Now this does have a hard attack. I don't know if I was the one that did this. There's a couple different ways to double up. Mainly on the filter is where I find that I need to do things usually. Let's initialize this patch. I've covered quite a bit about this filter. If you have cutoff all the way down, the filter envelope energy all the way up, velocity at 0. Hear all that bright frequency that's missing? If you right-click on cutoff and you also assign this to be modulated by the same filter envelope, you can take it from this to seeming brighter because there's more energy spent high. So that is a doubling trick that's nice. I have also shown the tricks. We did this with the TL, with TAL, where if you want your normal standard ADSR looks something like this. Usually it's more like this, right? Attack to the decay, sustain to release. And here's your release. Well, if you want, you can bring this down. Let's see, we got to go to the filter and there. And then we can go to here. By bringing this sustain down, you can get super snappy. That's more snappy in a mix than this. Takes up more energy. So for a lot of dance stuff, you just want that snappiness to it, right? And we could actually take this even further because you could assign that. I'd love to do the pitchy G trick where you go over here and you add mod envelope 4, make it polyphonic, call up the default, just the spike, turn off loop and turn off sync, and you can get super snappy by doubling the envelope of the filter on the filter, compressing the amp, and then adding a pitch EG to the actual pitch of the sound. And that's with no effects or anything being used at this point. So just to get the engine itself to be snappy, that would be the tricks that I use quite often, depending on what genre of music it's for, the sounds and so forth. Yeah, these other questions were a little bit more. This was, I think I know the answer to this. Let's read it together. It's from Kendall, a good customer that asks me lots of questions. Let's go like that. All right. So final question. Unless you guys, if you have a question, ask it in chat. Had a question. I've watched all your videos and I see you do it from time to time. In the end, sometimes good. Right. Don't quite match. I get lost in Logic Pro X, which I seem to always levitate back to Reason. I'm working on a tune. I have channel 1 as a cinematic grand, and an instance of Omnisphere on track 2 and 3 is set up as another grand in Keyscape for melody line, and then Adagio Espressivo is a pad on MIDI 1 and 2 channels. So when I play either tracks 2 or 3, it shows audio for both, either through the only sound of the ground or the strings is actually playing. So is it not possible to control each track's volume from outside Omnisphere, from the slider on the track line, or will it always be done from the mixer in Omnisphere? Also, if track 1 is on MIDI track 1 and 2 is on MIDI track 1, will it be able to differentiate between the different plugins? So I think I know what he's talking about. Let's explore this. So the question is that you have a couple parts. Let's go to part 2. And what you would do in this case is you'd need to go over here, set this to be MIDI channel 1, and then if you hold down Control and hit return, there's 8 different. So now as I play these, you can see it's lighting up. But they're all coming to the same stereo output, right? If I go to part 1, it's also these same outputs. But what if I wanted to use these sliders to control between this and this and this? How do you do it? Well, there are multiple outputs right here in Omnisphere. But what you have to do before you even do that is go over. Why is that number showing up there? Oh, that's my video. Okay, that's what's going on. If you go to Omnisphere, I can make it a multi-output version of itself by just clicking in Logic at the top of it. Or when you're first selecting, a lot of times with these plugins, you have the choice of saying stereo, or if they have more than one output, you know, multi-output. You can see the output configuration that's available if you want to use it that way. So by doing that, by making Omnisphere multi-output, there's channel 1. If I go to channel, isn't it multi-output? It is. Okay. So then we go to outputs and output A, output B, output C, output D, right? So now, oh, but oh, okay. So this becomes where you have to take it the next step, and that's to look at the mixer. I've set up the tracks in the arrangement, right? But the mixer itself has only one object for Omnisphere, but it has a plus. And each time I hit plus, it will open up multiple buses. So if I go back here to... You have to go to your mixer and hit the little plus button so it spits out multiple auxiliaries. So by doing that, now when I look here, it still looks kind of weird on this arrange page for the audio levels, but it is working. And maybe he's asking about why it still shows lights on channel 1 for all of them. I don't know. That's a good question. Someone else can figure that one out. Let me know. Okay. All right. Any questions? Nice hang. Thank you. I'm glad you guys liked it. Thank you. Cool. Well, another weekend is done. I have a whole bunch of grooves to make. There's some really cool things to show you guys with the way that we did viola. I'll say this. Melodyne is amazing. It would not be in the shape it's in without Melodyne. We didn't notice it so much with cello, but with viola and violin, pitch changes so much because the neck is so small. And you're holding that note, and you move just the smallest amount, and you're out of tune. And Mary played brilliantly. As you can tell, the samples just have life and this energy to them. It's awesome. But holding pitch was challenging. And I was going through, I even sent a picture to somebody showing them this. This was an attempt to fix one of the samples where I was, the fingers changing here and there. And this fixed it to a certain point. But man, to do this to all the samples, and I finally went, you know what, I'm going to try Melodyne. And I loaded a sample up and I went to the correction of the pitch and it nailed it, and it still kept it with all the everything else magical that was really great with it. Can we have viola samples to make patches with? Yes, I'm going to do the, we will do something like that for sure. They will be offered for experimentation. So yes, we'll be doing that. Because that's fun. I like getting you guys involved. There is a few hiccups here and there, but for the most part, you know, the hiccups outweigh the fun benefit for everybody of playing with samples. Here's your assignment. Make some patches. See what comes up. So yeah, when we get closer to that, that's April time. Well, thank you. Shout out. Everybody shout out where you're from. Could you pick up the video quality? Yeah, I know. I saw your post on that. There's nothing I can do about video quality. I think I can up the bit rate, but I'm on yellow as it is. So if I up the bit rate to make it 1080, then I will not be able to play without stuttering. So you can choose grainy or stuttering. It's not perfect yet. You know, someday maybe it will be perfect. But at least it happens. At least we can hang out. All right, St. George, Utah is in the house. See you from it's beautiful here. Sunny Portland, Oregon. Yeah. Where else are you guys from? Newbury Park, California. Hi, Bill. Welcome. London, DJ Green. Bothell, Washington, Wales, Holland. Love shout outs. So fun. Southern California. Rimrock, Arizona, where it's raining. Norway. That's right. You're getting snow there. Camas. I'm in Washington next week. Going to a wedding next weekend at Crystal Mountain Ski Resort. Leicester. Great. Thailand. Virginia, Albany, New York, Denmark. I love it. Global. Well, you guys are awesome. Munich, Bavaria. Ah, great. Awesome. Have a great weekend. Keep writing music, having fun adventures. Cheers to you all. Thanks for your support. Don't forget, OMG Volume 1 is on sale this weekend. And yes, spring is coming. Germania. Cool, Gareth. Good to see you guys. Take care. I'll see you later. Bye.